So, what if the pain and cravings and burnout you've been fighting aren't random at all, but signs that your body is begging for an inflammation reset? Today, we're breaking the cycle before the new year even begins. Peggy Moore is here. She's a powerhouse functional medicine practitioner and founder of More Health and Wellness. For over 25 years, she's helped women uncover the real root cause behind fatigue, stress, inflammation, and that feeling of I just don't feel like myself anymore. So, Peggy blends evidence based functional medicine with real world, doable strategies that empower women, especially in midlife, to move from surviving to thriving. And today she's here to guide us through the inflammation reset. So, please stay till the end. You're not going to want to miss this episode. You're going to learn how to lower pain, lower cravings, and disease risk before the new year even hits. Quick shout out to Dr. Bradley Nelson and iHeartRadio for your sponsorship. And like I said, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Peggy, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
Yes. Man, most people think inflammation is just joint pain. So, what is inflammation actually, and why is it running so rampant today?
Yeah, I think that is the most interesting thing to me that most women, when I talk to them and they tell me their symptoms of pain and puffiness, that belly weight that won't go away, cravings, difficulty sleeping, fatigue, all that, they have no clue that it could be due to chronic inflammation. And we're learning more and more about chronic inflammation through research and um, much information has been produced about this recently. And I think it's important to realize that seven of the top 10 leading causes of death, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, certain kinds of cancers, are all due to chronic inflammation. And I'm not talking about the kind of inflammation when you twist your ankle. When you twist your ankle and it swells, that's actually a good kind of inflammation because all the chemicals in your body go to that area so they can help it get better and they help it to heal. I'm talking about a quiet, low grade kind of inflammation. Excuse me, that kind of simmers under the surface and that women feel as those aches and pains and that puffiness, cravings, difficulty sleeping, fatigue. And I'm here today to talk about some ways that we can help to combat that inflammation and to feel better.
Yeah, the good inflammation is the kind that stops your hand from moving when you break your wrist, right? Like the body needs to be inflamed. But for listeners who feel off and they can't explain why, what are the subtle signs that inflammation is in the body?
I think that the biggest signs that I hear are the fatigue, the feeling puffy all the time, not being able to sleep. A lot of women come to me, their labs are not looking good when they go to the doctor and they don't really realize why and what they can do about it. Basically, about 60 to 70% of adults in the USA are living with a silent low grade inflammation and not even realizing it. A lot of women complain about belly weight that they can't get rid of, brain fog. I think that's one of the big ones. And that joint stiffness of just, and a lot of times I think women think, oh, well, I'm just getting older. But it's not just getting older, it's inflammation. And there's ways that we can help to fix that, reverse that.
Yeah. So, what about stress and sleep and hormones and cravings? Do they all feed into each other when inflammation is high, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So there's several things that influence inflammation in our body. And first, we need to realize that, of course, inflammation is not always bad. It's the body's natural healing response. But the problem comes when that natural healing response turns chronic and it's ongoing and it starts fueling that fatigue, that weight gain, that joint pain, and that disease risks. One of the number one things is diet. Diet accounts for about 50% of the chronic inflammation burning. Um, chron- um, Things like processed food, and I can talk more about that, they spark inflammation in the body. Then also that drives cravings and energy crashes, sleep, uh, stress are other big factors. So when you look at diet, sleep, and stress, which are all things that we probably all struggle with, getting enough sleep, having too much stress, a diet that is the American diet, all those things factor into all of our lives. But all those things are things that can increase inflammation, but they're also things that we can tweak just a little bit to help us feel better and decrease some of that chronic inflammation.
So, what are some of the biggest myths about inflammation that keep people sick?
I think some of the biggest myths is that there's nothing we can do about it, and that maybe taking things like ibuprofen is going to decrease that chronic inflammation. And it's really not. Studies have actually shown that chronic use of ibuprofen is actually not good for the body. And so, there are some really good strategies that we can take to reduce the chronic inflammation burning. Specifically, I think looking at diet, sleep, and stress, and then those hormones that uh, tend to trigger inflammation. So, diet, we really need to look at the over processed kinds of foods. When we eat processed foods, things that are made in a factory, things that come out of a bag or a box, our body actually looks at a lot of those ingredients as foreign. And when you have foreign things in your body, as you know, say you get a splinter in your finger, you get a splinter in your finger, it swells, right? And you get that inflammation because your body is coming to fight it. And so when you put foreign things in your body starts to fight it and it starts to develop that chronic inflammation.
Right.
You don't really have to have a restrictive diet to feel better. You just have to kind of pay attention to those ultra processed foods and switch them with foods that are better and are anti inflammatory type foods. So, simple swaps like changing canola oil to omega 3, really good olive oil or avocado oil, making sure that you're getting those colorful plants and plant-based foods that really give you all those antioxidants, all the good nutrients and vitamins that your body needs. That actually, just putting that in your body helps to decrease that inflammation.
Right. So, if someone is listening right now and they feel super inflamed, what would be one of the first things that you have them do today that's super simple and immediately would help?
Well, super simple with diet is just doing maybe a pantry swap. And I have a really great ebook. It's like a 4-page brochure that has some really simple pantry swaps that our listeners can get with this podcast. And I will drop the link in that below. But it just has several different things of that you can swap out in your pantry to help yourself feel better, to reduce that chronic inflammation. Those simple swaps, just remembering that the ultra processed things, the refined sugar, those hidden oils are some of the biggest culprits for inflammation. So making those simple swaps to more whole foods. I tell my clients, I'm like, go on the outside of the grocery store. Don't go in the middle where all the boxed food is and the
Yeah.
processed food. Shop on the outside, right? So get all those fruits and vegetables, those really good meats. I'm a real advocate of grass-fed meat and really good products that I want to put in my body. And then whole grains, things, really good complex carbohydrates like quinoa or sweet potatoes, things that are going to give you the energy that you need, but really have clean ingredients. I like to know what's in my food because when we put things in our body that we can't even read the ingredients, that triggers a switch in our body to say, this is foreign, and it starts that inflammation. So I think that's the number one thing that people can do. But there's a couple other things we can do too that have to do with stress and sleep and hormones.
Beautiful. Can you tell us how inflammation shows up? Like it's not always just puffiness. What are some other ways that can indicate that the body is inflamed?
I think when we have one of the biggest things that I talk to women about is that waking up feeling fatigued. So, not getting that sleep. If you're not waking up feeling refreshed, then you're not getting that good sleep that you need. And that could be due to inflammation. Inflammation in our body changes our gut microbiome, it changes our hormones. And when it messes with those things, we're not able to get the rest that we need. So we have we wake up with fatigue. We reach, of course, for when we wake up in the morning, reach for that caffeine or that sugar to kind of drive us through the day. And then we crash. And then what do? We reach again for that caffeine and that sugar to get us going for a few more hours in our workday. And then 3 o'clock in the afternoon hits, and we reach again for that caffeine or that sugar
Yeah.
to kind of get us going. And it's a constant up and down. And it really starts to affect our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and it affects our blood sugar. And those two things kind of are influenced by inflammation. Inflammation makes them worse. And the unbalance of those two things can really leave us feeling tired, fatigued. And then, of course, by the time we get to bed at night, we've been running on this roller coaster all day
Yeah.
and we can't get to sleep because we're exhausted, but we're wired. We finally get to sleep and then we wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, wired again, because our body is used to this roller coaster. And then we maybe get back to sleep for an hour and that alarm goes off and the whole day starts over again. So, recognizing that chronic inflammation is also influenced by stress and sleep and those hormones can help
Mm.
us to recognize how we can kind of tweak that and decrease that inflammation.
So are you saying that cravings could actually be a sign of inflammation in the body?
Absolutely. So when we think about the stress hormone, we think about fight or flight. So cortisol. I don't know how many, cortisol is kind of a big word right now. So I want to make sure everyone understands what it is. So cortisol is a hormone in our body that gives us the fight or flight. So back in the day, when our ancestors had to run from tigers, they would get this spike of cortisol and they would run from the tiger. Cortisol is our body's way of protecting ourselves. So, cortisol, that stress hormone, when we're stressed, our body wants sugar. Our body wants sugar. Our body wants simple carbs because it needs fast energy. So, when we're stressed, whether it be a tiger is chasing us, or we have a deadline, or things are stressful at work, or our family is super busy and we have 100 things that we have to do. And so our mind and our body are stressed. Our body kicks in our stress hormone to protect us. But protecting us means that I'm going to crave sugar. I'm going to crave simple carbohydrates because I need that energy fast. Whether I'm really running from a tiger or not, my body thinks it is. And so it increases those cravings. And I want those sweet and sugary things. And it starts me back on that roller coaster again. It
Right.
makes that roller coaster of our insulin and our blood sugar, and it just spirals and it leads to more sugar cravings and more fatigue.
I know. I had a sugar craving and I don't eat a lot of sugar. And I went to Starbucks, I got a cake pop and a large coffee. And the next day I was like, oh my God, I felt like it was like crack. Like I was so craving another one so badly. And it took so much willpower to not stop at Starbucks as I was driving by. Like sugar is so addictive. So addictive.
It's
And the
so
crazy thing is that I slept like crap that night, like absolute crap. And I woke up and my face was puffy and I just
right.
felt awful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting things to me on this like journey is I used to, of course, not have a really good diet. And I changed a lot of things a few years ago when I started working with a functional medicine provider and I learned about sugar. And I was like, oh, I did it. I went off sugar. Well, so I think the other day we had some food at work. We had some donuts, and I was like, I'll eat a donut because I deserve a treat, right?
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how I felt. I was jittery. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I have all this energy, but I crashed when I woke up the next day. Yes, my hands felt puffy, my face felt puffy, and I was shocked at how much influence that sugar had on my body. Sugar is so inflammatory. There's ways that we can get that sweetness without having refined sugar. You can use honey, you can use dates. I've found lots of recipes that I can use to get the sweetness that I want without overkilling my system with that refined sugar. It really
Yeah.
does have such a strong effect on our body and makes us feel bad. We feel good for the moment, but then we feel bad. And it's interesting how that craving repeats itself. And it takes a
Yeah.
little bit of willpower and a little bit of switch out to kind of get yourself feeling better. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, I'm 41 years old and I know hormones play a huge role in inflammation. So, can you talk to us a little bit about what role hormones play in inflammation in the body, especially for women who are approaching
Ab-
midlife or are in
yeah,
midlife?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's so interesting because when you think about hormones, people mainly think about estrogen and progesterone, which are two of your big female hormones. But that cortisol I talked about is also a hormone, and so is insulin and glucose. So when you really look at hormones, you've got a lot of factors in your body at play. And so one of the things that I really find beneficial about functional medicine is that it really gets to the root of the problem. There are things that we can look at and test labs that we can do to really look at where your hormones are. Where is that cortisol for you? Functional medicine is very personalized. There's a test called the Dutch test. It's one of my favorite lab tests, and it tells you your cortisol, but it also keys in to that estrogen and progesterone. What is your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, your other metabolic markers? How are they doing in your body? So we can see exactly where you're at and what needs to be fixed so that we can balance and stabilize those hormones and get you feeling better. Functional medicine is great at getting to the root of the problem. It asks us why. Quite often, when my clients go to conventional medicine practitioners, they say, what is your symptom? And they give them a medication to fix that symptom. For example, we'll just go back to blood sugar real quick. If someone's having blood sugar issues, they automatically give them metformin to start with to kind of combat that. Functional medicine digs deeper and looks why. Why is that blood sugar off? Is it due to stress? Is it due to hormones? Let's figure this out and get to the root cause and see if we can really do a root cause analysis, figure out what's going on so that we can tweak some lifestyle factors and get you feeling better. Estrogen and progesterone do play big roles in our hormones. One makes you feel a little wired, the other one makes you feel a little tired. And you really need the balance for everything to work beautifully and have that optimal health and wellness.
So, what about mindset? How important is mindset and emotional health when it comes to inflammation and pain in the body?
I love that you asked that. So, as well as a functional medicine provider, I'm also a certified life coach, and I talk with a lot of women about mindset and about really learning how to analyze your thoughts, your feelings, and to manage your mind in a way that is beneficial for you, is beneficial for your lifestyle. Recognizing that all the thoughts that pop into our head are just thoughts, and that we can change those thoughts and shift them a little bit so that they serve us better, so that they help us, number one, manage that stress. They help us be able to decrease that cortisol. So, decreasing that cortisol is going to decrease that inflammation. It's going to decrease your stress. It's going to decrease that fight or flight response. It's going to help you to feel more in control of what's going on in your life, help you to manage things better, and help you to feel better, to feel less fatigued, to have more energy, and to be thriving in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really been working on my stress, and my cat dumped over her entire bag of cat food the other day, and I walked in my door and it was all over my apartment, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, I could have two reactions right now. What's going to be the best for my body? Because I could have gotten really upset, really mad, and really frustrated. And then that affects your whole system. And that causes the body to go into stress response. But I took the high road and I was like, just laughed it off. But in our current world, like the climate of like the hustle and bustle, it can be really challenging to keep your mindset on point and to keep your stress levels down. What are some easy ways for people to do that? Or what do you teach your clients? Some easy way that you teach your client to handle stress?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And this is coming from a place of, let me just tell you, I have been in healthcare for 25 years. I was an ICU nurse for 20 years. And if you know anything about ICU nurses, we're a little OCD. We live off of adrenaline. We love it. And I had three kids that were very busy, and I spent my life living off of stress and cortisol until I couldn't anymore, until it all crashed. And I was like, I have to do something about this. I
Yeah.
had all those symptoms of the weight gain, not being able to sleep at night, all these little symptoms that kept popping up. And I finally recognized and reached out and got some help and realized that I really had to manage my stress level better. And I think it is a lot of mindset. I did a lot of journaling. I talked to my clients a lot about journaling. Journaling, when you write something down, it's on the paper. And so I kind of feel like it's out of your head and it's on the paper, and you can look at things a little more objectively. So I love that you gave that story about the cat food being everywhere, because back in the day when my life was super busy, if I came home to that, it would just be another thing that would set me off. But you're right. When that sets you off, that cortisol spikes, you crave those sweet things, your body ramps up, and that creates more inflammation. It messes with your blood sugar, it messes with your energy, and you end up not feeling good. So, recognizing that that cat food all over the floor is not a tiger, it's okay. we just clean up the cat food. And I think really working on managing stress. So breathing. I, it's so funny. You're told all these techniques all the time, and I would just always blow them off. I kind of like to know if I know the physiology behind it, I'm a little more apt to do it. And taking that deep breath, so breathing in, especially if you take that deep breath, breathe in for about 3 to 4 seconds, gets more oxygen to your body, to your cells. When you get that oxygen to your cells, it tells your cells, I'm okay. I can relax. Taking 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths reinforces that with your body. It's kind of a breathing technique that really tells your body, I'm okay. I can go into safe mode now. My body's okay. And all those fight or flight chemicals start to decrease, and your body feels safe again. And so you're able to take care of yourself just by simply giving yourself some breaths.
Mm. So this is a big one, Peggy. The holidays are coming up. It's like literally the most inflammatory time of the year between our relatives and our in-laws and Christmas and eating habits and holidays and travel. How do we stay on track without being rigid or miserable?
Yes, that is such a great question because I was looking at my next 4 weeks and I
Yeah.
have 2 trips coming up. I'm working in between there. I have several holiday parties. And I think the biggest thing to realize is we don't want to spend a life where we feel deprived. If you want a treat, have a treat, but balance it. I talk to my clients, make sure you get your protein, your fiber, and your healthy fat in your meal. And if you eat that beforehand, then your body is feeling full, it's feeling good. You can have that sweet treat, and your body is able to process it a little better because your body has that protein, fiber, and the healthy fat. Number one, you won't want as much. So I don't recommend going to a party hungry. I think that's one of the things we used to think, oh, I'm not going to eat all day because I'm going to a party tonight.
Oh,
And you
this
go
one, I've done it a
hungry
million
and you
times.
just
Christmas
eat.
dinner's coming. I'm not going to eat
Yes,
today.
exactly. So many times. And then we just eat everything. It's better for your body to eat those balanced meals, that breakfast and lunch. If you're going for dinner, just remember to get some protein, some fiber, and some kind of healthy fat in your meal before you have that sweet treat. Your body's going to be able to process it better. And then after that sweet treat, if you can move, if you're with your family and you just ate dinner, get the kids up and move with them, play, run around, go for a family walk. I've gone in the bathroom and just done like 10 squats,
Mhm.
because anything that can get your body moving just a little bit after you eat that energy burns that sugar up, and it helps it to balance out with your body better.
Mm. So, what is a realistic inflammation reset plan someone can follow between now and January 1st?
I think one of the biggest reset plans, there's so many things that you can do. I think really the number one thing is watching the what you eat, watching those inflammatory foods, the processed food. So when you go to that party, reach for the veggie tray, reach for the meats that are on the plate, reach for the things that you know are made of whole foods. Remembering that anything that comes out of a box or a bag is going to increase inflammation. So, keeping that protein, that fiber, those healthy fats, those plant based foods, really filling your body with that is going to help decrease inflammation so much. And then focusing on stress and sleep. Just go to that party and have fun. Realize that you're there with friends, soak it in, love it. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past year, when it comes to hormones of stress is that hormone of oxytocin. And we don't talk about that a lot. It's the hormone that bonds babies and moms, if we talk about it
Mm.
in that respect. But it is a hormone that actually decreases inflammation. And you get that hormone when you're around friends, people that you love, when you hug someone. So when you come in and you hug your friends, when you laugh with your friends, you get that hormone in your body that actually says, "Ooh, I'm safe. I'm loved," and it actually can help decrease inflammation. So remember that when you're at the parties. Don't feel the stress or anxiety of being in the social situation. Remember that these are your people. These are your tribe. These are the people that you love, that you work with, that you spend time with, and that love you. And get that hormone from them and in your body, that oxytocin that's going to help you feel better, that's going to decrease that stress, that's going to decrease that inflammation.
Yeah, it's all about the focus, right? If we're enjoying the holidays and we're just taking it at face value and are making the best out of every opportunity to, connect with our family and our friends without that added pressure that we're so bad at doing to ourselves. It's like we want everything to be perfect and we want like dinner to be perfect and we want our kids to have
Right.
all the toys that they want. But that's not realistic. And that just adds unnecessary stress to the body. And then our body responds.
Yes, exactly. I think one of the other thing, so besides food, managing that stress, managing your mindset to really soak in those good moments and enjoy the holidays is sleep. Prioritizing sleep in this busy time of year, we quite often are stay up late for a party and then get up early the next morning. And we really need to prioritize your sleep. Believe it or not, 40 to 60% of inflammatory markers can be raised by just as little as not getting sleep, as little as one night. So let me say that a little better. Sorry. Lack of sleep can raise our inflammatory markers by 40 to 60% in as little as one night if we don't get a good
Wow.
7 to 8 hours of sleep. We need that rest. Prioritize your activities. There are some times that I say no to a party if it's going to start at 8 o'clock at night, because unfortunately for me, I need to be in bed closer to that time than later. So go to the party, spend some time with your friends, soak in all that goodness, and then go home early if you need to get the rest that you need. But sleep is so important when it comes to balancing your hormones and decreasing inflammation.
I know sleep is one of the things that, women really start, especially women, start struggling with as they reach midlife and 40s and up. Why is that?
That is such a great question because I struggled with sleep for so long. I had that 2 or 3 a.m. wake up. And believe it or not, it has a lot to do with your hormones, your cortisol, so your stress hormone, and your blood sugar hormones. So remember when we talked earlier in this podcast about those cortisol spikes where we wake up and we have the sugar and the caffeine, and then we crash, and we have the sugar and the caffeine, and then we crash, and then we have the sugar and the caffeine, and then we crash, and then we try to go to bed at night, and we go
Yeah.
to bed at night and we can't get to sleep because we're wired, and then we finally get to sleep, and then we wake up in the morning at 2 or 3. That's because our body is stuck on that roller coaster. It's so used to going up and down and
Get
up
off the
and down
ride.
and up and down that you wake up in the middle of the night because that cortisol spikes.
Okay.
So that's one of the hormones, but also you got to look at your insulin and your blood sugar. So a few years ago, I wore a continuous glucose monitor, and I was living that kind of life of up and down and up and down, and was trying to figure out what was going on. And my blood sugar would go up and down and up and down, right with those cortisol spikes. So what happens goes up when you eat dinner, then it goes down. And at 2 or 3 in the morning, my blood sugar was down. It was ready for that next hit of sugar, but I'm in the middle of the night. So I'm like, what's going on? And when I realized that, I was like, wow. And so when I was able to learn how to balance my meals with the protein, the fiber, the healthy fats, really kind of cut back on sugar and processed foods, and I was able to stable out my blood sugar. My husband and I are wearing continuous glucose monitors this week. I like to wear them every once in a while just to figure out where I'm at. And my blood sugars have been rock steady in the 80s to 120 all day and all night. And I am sleeping better than I've ever slept. So I'm sleeping all night. So it was a real eye opener for me. I help clients with this all the time. When we do that Dutch test, get to the root cause analysis, and we really look at their cortisol and their blood sugar and what's going on. Because when you stable out those things, you are going to get the best night's sleep of your life. A good night's sleep, you can't buy a good night's sleep. A good night's
No,
sleep leaves you feeling amazing.
it does. It really does. It's like the best thing in the world.
Yes.
Getting to bed,
Yes.
being able to fall asleep and waking up and feeling refreshed.
Yes.
If you
It
could
is the
bottle that,
best.
people would be like,
Yeah.
if someone could bottle that, sell that, they would be the richest person in this world.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Does the time that we eat dinner make a difference?
I think it does. I feel like when we look at blood sugars so when we eat, our body needs to digest our food, right?
Yeah.
And that takes time. It also takes energy. And so eating probably 4 hours before you go to bed allows your body to digest your food. And then your body can use its natural calming hormones, that melatonin kicks in, and you're able to rest and get the sleep that you need. If you eat right before you go to bed, your body is in that process of digesting food, and it's not able to really balance out those chemicals that you need to fall asleep and to really get a good night's sleep. So I kind of recommend at least 2 hours. 4 hours is even better before you go to sleep so that your body can produce the chemicals that it needs to help you sleep. Your body does so many things that I think we don't realize when we sleep. When we sleep, our body's process kick into overdrive. Our cells turn over, our brain creates our memories. Our body is busy doing sleep things, and we need to allow it to be able to do the sleep things versus digesting food.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is the most powerful message that you want women to hear about inflammation, healing, and really taking control of their health?
I think the most powerful message that I try to stress to my clients and to others is that you can feel better. You can go from feeling tired, fatigued, puffy, having that belly weight that just won't go away, not feeling like yourself, to really thriving, to feeling good again, to getting that full night's sleep and waking up feeling refreshed and ready for the day, to find yourself at work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and be like, I still have plenty of energy to get through the rest of the day and the night, to really feeling good again, feeling like your old self again, like you did in your 20s, feeling like I got this. You can go from feeling tired to thriving again.
Nice. So, where can people connect with you to start working on their own inflammation reset journey?
Absolutely. So my website is morefunctionalhealthandwellness.com. You can find me on the web. I'm on Facebook under More Health and Wellness. I'm on Instagram under More Health and Wellness. We'll drop the links down below. I have a free Tired to Thriving strategy call where I will chat with you about your concerns, your specific kinds of symptoms, whether you're feeling that fatigue or you're feeling the stress or you're just having trouble with that belly weight. We'll talk about your top 3 health priorities, and I will give you a concrete plan on how to decrease that inflammation and to feel better and go from tired to thriving. That's usually a 15 to 20-minute call. It's free, and I offer that to everyone so that I can just talk with them, get to know my clients, get to know those women out there that need a little help that were like me, and be able to give some help and offer them some solutions.
Can you give us a little bit more information about what you do?
Yes, actually. Yes. So I'm a functional medicine provider or consultant, and I help women go from tired to thriving. I help women that have those symptoms of fatigue, um, puffiness, joint pain, fatigue, not feeling like themselves. I help them by listening. Number one, I think it's so interesting when you go to a conventional medicine provider and they spend 15 minutes with you. And my
Yeah.
average call with my brand new clients is usually about an hour. I really want to know all the symptoms, what's going on. And so I listen and we look at all the different symptoms and I can put the puzzles of the pieces together. I do a root cause analysis. I'm able to do labs such as that Dutch test that I mentioned. I look at blood sugar, I look at cholesterol, I look at all the pictures, I look at thyroid health. Let's look at the whole picture of what's going on in your body at the cellular level so that we can create a personalized plan for you to help um, combat that chronic inflammation, that chronic fatigue, to get you better at a cellular level and get you feeling better so that you go from tired to thriving.
Peggy, thank you so much for being here today and for covering such an important topic, especially before the holidays. I think this was divinely timed conversation.
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much for having me. I enjoyed discussing everything with you, and I think it's so important to get the information out there about chronic inflammation and how that drives so many um, chronic diseases and how we can decrease that inflammation and all live healthier lives.
Yeah, it really is foundational stuff, right? Like as you did so brilliantly today, you simplified it for us. It really comes down to our sleeping habits, our eating habits, and our stress levels. And if we can take control of that, that's really the foundation. And then the rest, it just bleeds into that, right? So, yeah, amazing conversation. And to anyone in our audience that wants to know more, we will link all of Peggy's links in the show notes so you can get in touch with her. If you're struggling with inflammation, you probably are, because most of us do at some point. You're going to want to learn more about it. It can be life changing. Until next time, take care, everybody.